Hello and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars. So you don't have to, from 2010 all the way through to the present day, whenever that may be, and we are currently in 2013 with Marussia, and you join us at Spa, the Belgian Grand Prix, after a Hungarian Grand Prix that we were running in the points for long periods. There were multiple retirements. We were then jumped in the pits and fell out of the top 10, but we're running okay, still running ahead of our nearest rivals and of one of the Toro Rossos. And then for the second season in four, and the second season in this particular team, hit the pit entry wall through the final corner and retired. Took Jean-Eric Vergne with us, and the team still gave us a guard of honour because we still finished above or equal to objective, because it put us down as finishing 18th. And then between these reigns, we've had a contract offer from Toro Rosso, which of course we've declined. There's been a weird bit between Hungary and Belgium. Frustrated is the word I think I'd use after Hungary. Just tyre wear was abysmal. We were struggling for most of the race, and we, like I say, we were kind of high midfield, probably on for a 14th place finish. A couple of laps from the end, just misjudged the corner, went into the wall, and that was it. But we got to look ahead to Belgium. Before we do, let's take a look at the standings. We remain 18th, just ahead of Bottas, Bianchi, Peak, and Van der Garde, but both Sutil and Maldonado picked up some points. Maldonado picked up some points. He did in the last round and moved up to 13th, which means that Ricciardo and Vergne are the only other drivers without points as well. At the top end of things, Lewis Hamilton retired, so he fell behind Sebastian Vettel by 22 points. Fernando Alonso took a strong second place, so it's still right in that fight, and Rosberg is following him into it as well. Felipe Massa, mathematically, most of them still mathematically in with a chance, but you'd say Massa's probably the least likely of the top five, and then everybody else probably out of the battle for the championship already. Webber down in sixth, out of Perez, Raikkonen, and Grosjean. Hulkenberg took a wonderful fifth place result and solidifies his top 10 position ahead of Jenson Button, who has had to contend with me for the last couple of reigns for large portions of them. Gutierrez in 12th, and then Maldonado, De Resta, and Sutil, the last of the point scorers. In the constructors, that 2 points for Maldonado moved Williams up ahead of Toro Rosso, and now 2 points clear of us and 2 points behind Force India. We're only ahead of Caterham, while at the top end of things, Mercedes' lead was slashed to 29 points ahead of Red Bull, and then Ferrari still just about in the picture there. McLaren are going to be losing the constructors' title that they won last season. They're in fourth, just ahead of Lotus. Sauber kind of in a bubble, all on their own in sixth, and then Force India and Williams. And now we head to Belgium, a circuit that we all know, we all love, and many of us have driven many, many, many miles here. And we actually had a decent race in 2012. It was mixed conditions. We, again, ran in the points for a long period of time and lost. I can't remember why we slipped out of the top 10. I think, again, whether it was just being held in the pits or whether we picked up some damage somewhere or something. But we slipped out of the top 10, but had a really strong finish in the HRT. Really could do with finding somewhere to pick up some points in the remaining 9 reigns, because I don't really want this Marussia car to be the first pointless season we have. I don't want any pointless seasons, but the fact that we've managed to score well in both the Marussia and the HRT and Team Lotus before this, and then of course the spectacular season for Virgin Racing in 2010, where we took a victory and podiums and God knows what else. It would be a shame to go from that to coming back to the team from Banbury and not scoring at all. We're staying ahead of Bianchi. It's only the second time he outraced us last time, and that's because we put it into a wall. But we're level now in the qualifying challenge. So I'm hoping that actually we can have a decent Belgian Grand Prix. It's a circuit I enjoy driving. I think a lot of us do. Fast, free-flowing, entertaining to drive. But these cars are a bit of a handful, and these tyres in 2013 are woeful. They degrade instantly, and I'm pretty hard on tyres anyway, so if you think the 2025 Pirellis are bad, go back and try the 13s. But that means we really need to get some practice in just to see how tyre deg is and see if we've actually got any pace whatsoever in a circuit that, while long and technical in places, is still quite high speed. So let's cross over to practice, and while we get some laps in there, we'll talk about the real world 2013 Belgian Grand Prix. Formula One returned to the iconic Spa-Francorchamps for the Belgian Grand Prix as the season passed its halfway point, with Sebastian Vettel holding a commanding lead in the drivers' standings. The opening practice session was disrupted by rain prior to and during the session, with few drivers tempted to run intermediate tyres early on. The track would eventually dry out and Red Bull would be the first to test the conditions. A positive run saw every other driver get out on track, though the start and end of the lap were still a little damp, leading to some drivers sliding off. It would be Alonso top on the tight, ahead of the two Force Indias, Di Resta leading Suter. The second practice session would be running dry conditions, though this would lead to its own issues, with both Van der Garde and Vettel suffering tyre issues similar to those experienced at Silverstone, Van der Garde unable to keep his Caterham to the barriers. Despite the tyre problems, Vettel would top the times ahead of Webber and Grosjean. Vettel and Webber would also be in the top three in the final practice, though they'd be split by the Ferrari of Fernando Alonso. Rain hit the track just before qualifying began, giving everybody a headache as to what tyres to select for the conditions. It would be the intermediate tyre to start the session, though at the midway point, Guido van der Garde would take a gamble on running slicks. The times would tumble as the session continued, with the sight of both Marussia drivers and van der Garde making it into Q2, meaning the back three rows were filled with Charles Pic, the two Williams cars, the two Toro Rossos, and the Sauber of Esteban Gutierrez.
We've got the telemetry we needed.
The fairy tale wouldn't last for the slowest two teams, as the track was dry enough for slicks in Q2. Van der Garde would outqualify both Marussia cars and take Caterham's best ever qualifying spot. They'd be joined by Perez in the McLaren, Hulkenberg and Suter. As the drivers queued at the pit exit for the final part of qualifying, another rain shower was due to hit the track. Paul Di Resta in the Force India was the only driver to take a gamble on Inters, one that paid off, as everyone else had to pit before they could set a lap time, propelling the Scot to provisional pole. It wouldn't stick, however, as the track began to dry out with enough time for everybody to set a lap on the slicks. Hamilton would take pole, ahead of Vettel, Webber, Rosberg, with the rest to fall into fifth. Button would outqualify both Lotus cars and both Ferraris. Hamilton would initially get away in the lead, while Vettel would follow through the source. Webber would suffer clutch problems and fall backwards, allowing Rosberg, Button and Alonso to move ahead of the Australian. Vettel would get a better run through Eau Rouge and Radion and get past Hamilton along the Camel Straight, taking the lead ahead of the two Mercedes cars. Perez and Grosjean were battling further down the order, the Mexican forcing the Lotus off track and netting himself a drive-through penalty for the incident. Massa took advantage of the situation, but would have a scare not long after, as the other Lotus of Kimi Raikkonen had a brake failure just behind him, marginally avoiding the Ferrari as he careened off the track. In the lower order, the battle between Gutierrez, Maldonado and the two Force Indias would see Gutierrez make a move on Sutil and Maldonado, with the Force India attempting to follow the Sauber through, but he clipped Maldonado's front wing. The Williams then attempted to dive into the pits, but he collected Paul Di Resta, the Force India retiring on the spot, while Maldonado would pit for a new front wing before receiving a stop-go. At the head of the field, Sebastian Vettel would have no problems at all, and he'd take victory by a comfortable margin. out of Alonso, with Hamilton taking the final podium spot. Rosberg, Webber, Button, Massa, Grosjean, Sutil and Ricciardo would complete the top 10. What can we hope for then at this iconic track? Let's be honest, who doesn't love Spa? I'm certainly one of the people who does. But in this series so far, it doesn't necessarily love us. At least the qualifying sessions in 2010 and 11 were successful, but we hit rock bottom last season. Now, marking the first time in the first 3 seasons that we haven't made it out of Q1 and into Q3 here. Getting anywhere near Q2 has been nigh on impossible in 2013 now, and I can't imagine it's going to change here. But I really do enjoy this place, and enough to feel fairly confident. So I'm going to say, let's aim for a season best of 16th, and hope we can match this lofty target, and give ourselves some good spot to work from.
Your time in Sector 1's good, but you're losing a lot through Sector 2. We don't think you'll have any trouble getting into the next session, so don't push too hard.
It's qualifying then for the Belgian Grand Prix. Engineer Andy still thinking that we'll make it through Q1, although I proved to him in Hungary that we're not going to do that. Finished last in practice, way off the back of anybody else. Just, don't know, just prime tyres, doing an R&D test. Yeah, probably not the best representative set of times. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better on the option tyres here, and we can go on and at least fight with our teammate in the Caterhams and maybe one other car. But it's going to get busy out there, as you can see. So let's get out there, get some laps on the board, and see where we end up. Let's then take a look at our best lap in qualifying. It was actually our first lap. Unfortunately, didn't really manage to improve as the session went on. Decent run through Le Source, so the rear does try and step out a little bit. But we're close enough to Jules Bianchi to not only get a slipstream down to Eau Rouge and Radler, but we'll also get a slipstream with the DRS up the Camel Straight. All of a benefit, just to try and pull us along. A little bit scruffy through Razion, but not enough to be worrying the track limits gods as we head towards the chicane at the end of the straight. Get very close to Bianchi here, and it does compromise us through Les Combes and through Malmedy as well. We're really struggling to be able to get the power down completely. We think about a look into Bruxelles, we have to hit the anchors pretty hard, which again compromises us a touch as we head through X. Ride the curb nicely, we let Bianchi get away a little bit, once again just try and get a little bit of slipstream as we head into Pouhon. Got to try and keep it on the road, so we lift a little bit, which really does cost us a fraction of time, but we head up towards the campus chicane. A little wide on entry to the first part, but we can ride the curb through the second part and get a decent exit as well as we head into Stavelot and Corbe Paul Frere. Coming off Stavelot, nearly actually spin the car. The rear kind of grips up a little too much and we run a little wide as we leave Corbe Paul Frere as we head into Blanchimont. We've got somebody up behind us now as well. There's a Williams who's trying to dive up the inside, which is not going to help our cause any better. But we're now getting a slipstream off Bianchi once again as we head into the bus stop. We just about managed to stop and don't run into the back of our teammate until the second part of the bus stop, and we slightly nudge him across the line. Would it be good enough by the end of the session?
That's qualifying over for us. We were hoping for better. You're starting in 22nd tomorrow.
Qualifying comes to an end in Q1 as always, and we are last. We were 19th for most of that session, and we were sat in the pits at the end because I just couldn't go any faster. Quite comfortably ahead of the likes of Bianchi, Peak and Van der Garde, and we end the session behind all of them, along with Sutil and Bottas, who drop out in Q1. Yeah, that's throwing me right off. I was about to say, yep, P19, great. We're now ahead of Bianchi in the teammate challenge, and we're not. We're just not. We're behind him once again. I don't feel like I could get anything else out of the car. Sector 2 seemed to be a bit rough in terms of time, but not that much. We were, I think, something like 0.6 of a second clear, and they've just pulled all that back and more in their final runs. So, last on the grid in Belgium. It's going to be tricky to pick our way through at the start into La Source and then up the Camel Straight. But this could be quite the long race. But let's cross to the Belgian Grand Prix of 2013. Welcome to the garage then for the 2013 Belgian Grand Prix. We start last. Still confused as to how the guys behind us pulled so much time back in their final runs, but we move. We're going to have to settle for getting away from the last spot on the grid. Let's take a look at that grid order though before we talk about the race any further. Lewis Hamilton took pole position ahead of Nico Rosberg. Webber in third with Vettel, championship leader, in fourth ahead of Alonso. Perez, Hulkenberg once again in the top 10, driving fantastically for the Sauber team. Massa in eighth, then it's Button and Raikkonen. Di Resta is 11th ahead of Gutierrez, Grosjean, Maldonado, Verne, Ricciardo, and then out in Q1 was Sutil, Bottas, Bianchi, Pique, Van der Garde, and there we are, 22nd and last. This obviously the least number of laps but the longest race distance, even though it is half distance. It's just a long circuit, so it's going to be maybe a bit of a slog. I feel like we have all right pace in half of the lap, but the middle part we're just really kind of struggling. And obviously we've got to get off the back row cleanly through La Source, because that's going to be carnage on lap one. Objective wise, it's got to be beating our fellow back markers. We were on to do that in Hungary before we put it into the wall, so realistically I think it is doable, because we didn't really have pace there either, and we were still not comfortably ahead of them but in front of them. So P19 is the aim, which I feel like we should have had in qualifying but we didn't get. It's going to be a tough old race, this one, but hopefully Belgium can do us some favours. Let's head to the grid for the Belgian Grand Prix. All Mercedes front row, all Red Bull second row. There's Bianchi, and there we are, down at the back on our own.
We're below where we wanted to be on the grid, so try your best to make up a few places in the race.
It's pep talk from engineer Andy as we get away on the line slowly as the last light went out, trying to avoid wheel spin, but it's very difficult to in F1 2013, but we'll try and find ourselves a spot around the outside of La Source, and then we'll cut back in on a few people, including Bianchi. We're up to P17, decent run through La Source in the end. Bianchi's trying to stay with us into Eau Rouge and Ration, where it all gets a little bit difficult. We have to back off and hand some places back. Waiting for Verne to go back past, he just about does, before we get penalised for it. Also costs us positions to Ricciardo, Bianchi and Van der Garde, I think. Get back past Ricciardo. We all concertina up into Bruxelles. Verne got very wide. There's Maldonado getting held up by Grosjean. Gutierrez has just rounded the pair of them. Back off a little bit into Pouan. P16 as we head up towards Blanchimont at the end of the lap. Yankee looking quicker than us behind. We've got cars taking multiple lines through the bus stop. Vern's gone past Bianchi behind us. Webber, the man leading the way off the second row, as we'll dive bomb Maldonado into La Source. We'll make it, so it's P15 now. Again, we've got Jean-Eric Verne behind us. He was behind us in Hungary when we hit the wall. Ended up getting classified ahead of us, despite the fact he crashed into the back of us. Just F1 2013 things, but there we go. Like Hungary, the DRS is going to be super powerful up the Camel Straight. We're close enough to get DRS at least. We've done pretty much all of our curves, actually all of our curves, to stay ahead of Verne. DRS helped there as well, as they will scrap into Les Combes. Gutierrez has been forced out by Grosjean. And we've lost a bit of front wing on the back of the Lotus.
Your front wing's taken some slight damage.
Cost us in the pit stops.
It's causing you problems.
Gutierrez has a look at Pouan. It's spooked me a little bit. Both him and Maldonado make it through. We step to 16th. We'll try and fight that position back with the Williams. We manage it. I think he's clipped us. He has. When he gets DRS, we dump all of our curves to keep Toro Rosso behind us. Kind of futile. The fact that we're going to lose time in the pits. We run wide through the chicane. Across Verne and Ricciardo, so don't lose any positions, but it's starting to be a bit of a problem. Wide at Pouan again. Verne alongside. Verne through, we tap him a couple of times. We're struggling here. Ricciardo gets through as well. I assume Bottas is going to be next. Bianchi and Maldonado, I think. Verne on the prime tyres as well. Bottas has a look into Blanchimont. That would be a ridiculous move if he pulled it off. Verne and Ricciardo caught up to Gutierrez pretty quickly. We follow Ricciardo in. Bottas stays out, Bianchi stays out. I'm assuming Van der Garde and Pique will stay out as well. Maldonado stays out.
Expect reduced grip until you can wear them off. Stay on the racing line.
I think Maldonado's in actually, and maybe Pique as well, but again, we're going to have a front wing change. Ricciardo will go through. We'll at least get out ahead of Maldonado and Pique.
Be careful not to drive over the white line when coming out of the pits, or you'll get a penalty.
Automatic control a little bit better this season than it was last season, with that white line on pit exit.
The car behind is on the harder tyre, so he's meant to be slower. We're going to need you to build a gap if you can.
So can we jump back past anybody in the pits? Deep into the bus stop.
Jules is pitting now. Jules in the pits.
Gutierrez is in, Bianchi's in.
car
Bottas,
behind
there's
is trying to
Gutierrez.
save fuel. It looks to us like Bottas is going to pit within the next couple of laps. The car behind has a drive-through penalty,
DRS.
so don't battle him if he tries to get past.
On Gutierrez. He's on the prime tyre. We easily pass the Mexican in the Sabre. Scruffy through Stavolo. Two of the guys behind me on the prime tyre. We're getting deep into the bus stop. I think Gutierrez has just gone in, actually, as has Bottas. I'm pretty sure didn't they just come out the pits? Pretty sure they did. So unless they've picked up damage from each other. Ronaldo up to the back of us fairly quickly. Running the prime tyre here. So going for a slightly alternate strategy to us. Going deep into the bus stop this time, but not exactly having the best exit. He is behind one of the Caterhams, who's all of a sudden right on the back of Pastor Maldonado. The yellow flag.
The car ahead has some minor damage to his front wing.
Sector
Doesn't look too serious.
3. Somebody's dropped out. I think it might have been Ricardo. Potentially.
3 places above our expected result.
Yeah, we're up to 15th. Something about damage to the front wing. Was indeed Daniel Ricciardo that's dropped out of this one. As Maldonado goes on the attack, Vandergaard's there as well. He's going to try and attack the Williams. Both behind us for now. Maldonado this time looks to the outside of Blanchimont. And has a think about the same option through the bus stop as we light up the rears. Just about hold the Williams off. I fear we could just as easily finish last here as we could finish in 15th. We run a little wide there, that's let Maldonado through. And we're not going to be able to dive back up the inside of him at Stavolo. At least within DRS of Maldonado across the start-finish line. I think we're going to be for the run up the Camel Straight though. Bottas is into 17th, so despite his extra pit stop, he's already back in the fight behind us.
The car
So
behind
sticks
is
to the
on
inside of us
standard
at P1.
The car behind is running standard revs.
He's got option tyres on as well though, so I don't know, maybe he'll go a lap longer, but we run wide and we just let him through, basically. As we hit the gravel and nearly lose the car. The Yankee thinks about getting past, ends up staying behind us, but yeah, this is not going to be a good race for us. So that's actually coming in this lap. This has got to be his third stop or something. Peaks in as well. And Gutierrez is going to be coming in. Can we see the Sabre mechanics out? It doesn't look like it. 20.
There's some traffic at the pit exit. Watch out as you rejoin the track.
And a guard goes by us, as does Gutierrez.
You have no more scheduled pit stops.
Right in front of us at least. We're on the faster tyre here. No, we're not. We're on the prime. Gutierrez behind Van der Gaard. I'm going to get the run on both of them.
Caterham are readying to receive Van der Gaard for a pit stop.
Back into 18th place. We get very deep into the bus stop. Have to cut across it a little bit there, because we were never making the corner. Van der Gaard has stayed out. The Yankee is currently in the pits. We'll get out just ahead of him, so P17 for us. Probably about as good as it's going to get, realistically. Wide through Stavelo. Guido van der Gaard's going to be right on us. Yeah, to pit out on those option tyres. I assume he's coming in shortly. Hold him off through Blanchemont. Peak behind him as well. I mean, happy that we are in race pace at least, just faster than the Caterhams. That would be quite the blow if we were slower than them, considering how we've been in comparison all through the season. So should hopefully catch us on the Camel straight. I mean, we won't have to back off too much. Back off a little bit now anyway, just to try and let him through.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not
Inside,
racing
let him
in.
through, rather than in the middle sector of the lap.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Wide through that chicane, a little bit of contact. It is Sebastian Vettel. We're still trying to let him through. Run wide into Stavelo. We've got Rosberg behind us now as well. We will both go through. Cost us a huge amount of time. It looks like the other Red Bull of Mark Webber's behind us. Is that Red Bull?
7 seconds.
It is a Red Bull. That's Mark Webber following Rosberg and his teammate again. Another car behind us. It's the other Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
And the Ferrari of Felipe Massa all at once. We've got DRS here. On to our final lap of the race. In amongst the lead battle. Not a nice place to be. We'll dive out of Massa's way. Come on, Felipe. Let him through into Eau Rouge. And we're following it through Rabion. Get the slipstream in the DRS. We won't get DRS, but we will get the slipstream. Massa does get DRS for being behind us. Slipstream in the Ferrari helping. Should keep us
You're
well
leading
ahead of
Pig by
Sharpie.
5 seconds. There's a 5-second gap to Pig.
Well, the repeated mantra of this season, solid if unspectacular, kind of very much the Belgian Grand Prix in a nutshell. Running just outside the points, and then as soon as the tyres went, we just hemorrhaged positions. Had to repair damage in the first stop, got held as well in the pits. Fallen to the back a few times, but have gone about our business to get back ahead of our nearest challengers, so we'll still at least finish ahead of the Caterhams and Bianchi and Gutierrez, who's back there. It's Fernando Alonso who takes the win here, really bringing him back into that title hunt as we head into the bus stop for the last time. P17 in Belgium. P17, first of the lapped cars ahead of Peak, Bianchi, Van der Garde and Gutierrez. Daniel Ricciardo doesn't finish the race. Yeah, fine, fairly mediocre Belgian Grand Prix for us. Probably, possibly could have been a little bit further up if tyre wear hadn't caught us out, but wouldn't have been anywhere near the points, I don't think. At the top end of things, Alonso took the victory ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who beat Rosberg to the line. Hamilton finished 4th, so he'll lose more ground on his championship rival. Webber 5th, Massa 6th, then it's Perez, Raikkonen, Button and Grosjean. Hulkenberg just outside the points, ahead of De Resta, Verne, Maldonado and Bottas. And then us guys at the back. What does that do to the standings? Well, it is now a 28-point gap between Vettel and Hamilton. There's just 2 points between Alonso and Hamilton, and just a further 13 back to Rosberg. Those 4 really are now, I think, battling for the title between them as we get to the end of the European season. Felipe Massa's in 5th, ahead of Mark Webber. Perez is 7th. Raikkonen, Grosjean and Hulkenberg complete the top 10. And Button's 11th, ahead of Gutierrez, Maldonado, De Resta, Sutil. The no-point scorers, Ricardo, Verne. We remain 18th, ahead of Bottas. Bianchi, though, jumps Charles Pic and is now ahead of both Caterhams, Pic and Van der Garde, at the bottom on their own. In the Constructors, though, there's still a 28-point gap between Mercedes and Red Bull, with Ferrari just a little ways further back. McLaren finally break the 100-point barrier, but are 217 points behind Mercedes, so definitely will not be retaining their Constructors' crown. Lotus are in 5th, ahead of Sauber, who are still on their own. Force India still 7th, ahead of Williams. Toro Rosso, we still remain ahead of Caterham. And yeah, kind of a nothing Grand Prix, really, that one. Just a lack of pace for the most part, but not too bad in Belgium in the grand scheme of things. It's going to be tough in the next race at Italy, because again, pace is going to be our biggest problem. But at least we can leave Belgium having finished this race and maintained our record of outracing our teammate and beating team objective, or at least matching team objective, which we still managed to get in Hungary despite the fact that we ended the race on the side of the road. It wasn't the most exhilarating, solid if unspectacular, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. Come join me for the next one in Italy as we round out the European season. I shall see you for the next one. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.